Vampires are malleable monsters. The creatures of horror fiction often only fit singular archetypes. Like, for example, zombies may be able to walk or they may be able to run, but regardless of which of those two options you pick, you're still always going to get something that, generally speaking, is some variant of walking corpse hungry for flesh. Just as werewolves will always lose control after transforming, kaijus will always smash, and slashers will always be some form of unstoppable stabby murder machine. Vampires, though, now they're a little bit different, aren't they? They can be whatever you want. They can be upper-class distinguished counts. They can be hideous, ugly creatures that skulk in the shadows outside of human society. But most importantly, they can be sexy. Not that one. That one.
Lost Boys is the OG sexy vampire movie. The film follows a teenager called Michael, played by Jason Patric, and his younger brother Sam, played by Corey Haim, who after their mother Lucy's implied messy divorce, moved to a little beach town called Santa Carla in California to live with Lucy's dad for a fresh start. Lucy being portrayed by Deanne West and her dad by Barnard Hughes. It doesn't take long for Michael to become interested in a girl in his new environment. A young woman called Star, played by Jamie Gertz, who hangs around with this biker gang led by their leather jacket wearing bad boy leader David, portrayed by Kiefer Sutherland, the one man to ever make a mullet look attractive.
And yes, Tony, if you're watching this, I did say one man to ever pull it off. It wasn't a good look on you, I'm sorry.
Meanwhile, Michael's younger brother Sam is off having adventures of his own, making friends at a comic book store with two weirdo kids and self-proclaimed vampire hunters called the Frog Brothers, played by Corey Feldman and Jameson Newlander. The pair claim that they know for a fact that this town is under attack by creatures of the night, and the reason it's so dangerous around here is because it's full of vampires. They give Sam some educational material, aka comics, and send him on his way, warning him if he ever has any vampire problems, they should be his first point of call. Back with Michael, David begins to notice his interest in Star and decides to toy with him a little, goading him into a dangerous motorcycle race which almost cost Michael his life and fucking with him like the big bully picking on the nerd in front of all of his friends by putting him through an almost hazing-like initiation process into the gang, one that includes turning some food Michael's eating into worms to freak him out and then making him drink from a chalice of blood. It's a scary experience for Michael, but not as scary as what happens next, when all of the crew hang from a train track and one by one laugh as they fall into the gorge below. Michael hangs on as long as he can for dear life, but eventually loses his grip and falls too, only to wake up in his bed confused. He's now sensitive to sunlight and has an insatiable bloodlust that almost makes him attack his little brother until he's stopped by the family dog, and Sam realizes that Michael is turning into a vampire when he catches Michael's semi-transparent reflection in the mirror. He hasn't turned fully though because he's yet to kill anyone, and so the two recruit the Frog Brothers to try and help them kill the head vampire, whoever that may be, and hopefully break the curse of vampirism before it's too late and Michael's bloodlust becomes too insatiable.
The Lost Boys was instrumental in reshaping our cultural zeitgeist of the vampire mythos. Or, to put it in less academic terms, we horny now! Joel Schumacher's 1987 classic reimagined the fabled bloodsucker for the modern age, keeping the fangs and diet but swapping out everything else we knew a vampire to be. Gone were the upper-class aristocrats of the age of Dracula and Nosferatu, and in its place were, something closer to leather daddies. Just a big ol' sexy gang of glam rock, leather-wearing biker motherfuckers. Rad.
Though it wasn't at all the first story to embellish on the monstrous attraction of these creatures, those elements trace back at least as far as the original Dracula novel itself, which features a chapter in which Dracula's brides attempt to seduce Jonathan Harker, and only 2 years prior to Lost Boys' release, the also excellent film Fright Night had a very sexy vampire in its antagonist Jerry Dandridge. I mean, whew. But what Lost Boys did do for the first time, at least to my knowledge, was make vampires cool in an inherently teenage way. They weren't sexy because they were rich, hypnotic, or enigmatically dangerous. They were the bad boys, the cool kids, the gang you wish you could be a part of. The film's tagline alone manages to perfectly sell the whole mystique and appeal surrounding them. Sleep all day, party all night, never grow old. The vampires of the Lost Boys play to the male teenage fantasy of a rule-free world of adolescence. No school, no parents, just you, your mates, and all-nighters doing whatever the hell you felt like. David's crew of boardwalk biters are essentially the stereotype of those guys who peaked in high school. Only instead of burning out and failing to adapt to adult life, they stay peaking because they never have to leave that high school aging mentality. They can be hot, irresponsible slackers for all of eternity if they want, so long as they're willing to eat civilians. It's an enticing offer compared to a world of bills, work, and relationship commitments. And this innovation for a lot of people warped the mental image of the vampire in a way never done before, and it's a legacy still felt to this day. Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer is basically all but an honorary member of David's gang. Same bad boy attitude, same fashion style, albeit a bit more 90s, the influence is clear. And everything from True Blood to the Vampire Diaries to hell, even Twilight, owes some debt to Lost Boys' influence. It's such a significant cultural cornerstone that David's worm trick was even homaged in fellow Wholesome Halloween entry What We Do in the Shadows.
Hey Stu, how's your worms? Can you do that shit where you turn into worms?
No, it doesn't work on chips, and it works on things that already look like worms.
Now, it's all well and good to change the mythology surrounding a long-established fictional being. But in order to make the cultural impact where you warp the public perception of what that mythology is, your film is gonna have to be really, really, really good. Or really bad and popular, but that's a different thing. Look, it is 2020 now. Twilight being bad is not a hot take anymore.
Thankfully, Lost Boys, at least for me, falls into the very good camp. Although the reception was good to mixed on release, it has since been retroactively acknowledged as a wonderful little 80s time capsule that takes a respectful and unpatronising look at the trials of adolescence. Michael's transformation, a clear nod to the significant changes of that period of time in your life, and David's initiation and encouragement for Michael to kill, is basically a hyper-exaggerated example of masculine peer pressure. And it's done so convincingly, I get it. I get why Michael would want to go through this creepy initiation process rather than run like his life depended on it. You can't look lame in front of the cool kids, you know? It's fairly grounded in that sense, in spite of its fantastical metaphor. The film is also dripping with a style and atmosphere that no other teen movie matches. Initially, this was meant to be a full-on kids film by Richard Donner, something more akin to The Goonies, but when he was unable to direct, they pulled in Joel Schumacher, who insisted on gothing and sexing it up, and you can see his desire to set this tone right from the word go. As the camera flies through the dark sky over Santa Carla, waves guide you to the bright night lights and livelihood of the PFA as the brooding melody of Cry Little Sister plays over the opening credits. A song so perfect for this movie, I knew it had to have been written specifically for it, and it turns out it totally was. You're immediately enraptured in this, for lack of a better word, vibe. It's just such a mood. It sells this feeling of a new but possibly dangerous and exciting world. And just as you're being pulled into that, you're then introduced to these weirdly fashioned, enigmatic troublemakers walking around like they own the place, and are completely taken in when immediately in the following scene they reveal their true nature. It's just instantly gripping, wonderful stuff. From the very first frame, the city just feels like a whole character unto itself. And this is further developed on when we get to see it in the day. As a cover of The Doors' People Are Strange by Echo and the Bunnymen plays over a montage of the town architecture, graffiti, and shows the streets just teeming with all sorts of unique people from all walks of life. The whole thing immediately feels like a real tangible place in all of its idiosyncrasies.
Take the Frog Brothers, for example. You do not question why these kids seemingly run a comic book store and know all of the town's dark secrets, because of course they do. That just feels like the kind of little local quirk that would exist in this world and that everybody would know about. You could totally imagine a conversation between residents where they're like, hey, do you know the Frog Brothers? The Frog Brothers, are they the... Oh, you mean the two kids around the corner who run a comic shop even though they're 12? Yeah, everybody knows the Frog Brothers. That's just that's a town thing.
Speaking of the Frog Brothers, this film nails its cast and characters. These guys are so much fun. dancing along that ultra thin line between being cool and being mega dorks. You can never decide if they're the most awesome kids in their school or are the ones on the receiving end of wedgies, and it keeps you guessing at their vampire hunter credentials, because while there are vampires and they seem to know about those well enough, on the other hand, these could just be kids LARPing. And the gang of vampires, well, we already established they're fucking cool as shit. David has a hell of a presence, and his laughing cronies and Star's apprehension to his more dangerous sides prop that up brilliantly. He's the perfect antagonistic foil for protagonist Michael, being that he's everything Michael isn't, but tries to be to impress the girl. Michael's new to town, David's been here hundreds of years. Michael has no friends, David has a gang. Michael still lives with his mom, David is daddy.
The film, the characters, the setting, the story, it's all just so cool, man. It's just this really unique study of adolescence that just feels so honest and true to the teenage experience. The cinematography and costume design is gorgeous, the dialogue's bouncy, the action is dark, the Frog Brothers are hilarious, and it ends on such a banger of a line. This film is a perfect, fun addition to anyone's wholesome Halloween. Wow, so, day 27 wrapped. Jesus Christ, I am tired. But we're almost at the end now. Halloween is so close that, let's not slow down, let's keep it going. If you want to support the channel, please do subscribe using the red button below. Please remember to like, comment, and all that jazz. And I will start reminding people now that I do have a Patreon that's available if that may interest some of you. I'm reminding you now because it's coming to the end of the marathon, and from that point onwards, every video going forward will have the option for credits and possible shout outs and stuff. At the moment, there's a $1 tier available, that's all I've got, but there'll be more shiny things coming in the future. But even the $1 tier gets you access to the potential shout outs, credits in the videos after Wholesome Halloween, and also a private Discord, a bunch of super fun stuff. You can go check it out at the link below. It's the best way to support the channel. You can give as little or as much as you want, and if you can't do that, don't worry about it. You can still help out by just, sharing the content around and liking, commenting, and subscribing, like I said before. And anything you can do is massively appreciated. This has been a huge undertaking. I can't believe we're getting towards the end, and any support at this point is just magical. I love you all. I will see you tomorrow.